So Agostino, we have been several times discussing on geopolitics in different places and situations through the years, and I have been always interested in your geopolitical thoughts on how the energy sector are evolving. So the first thing, and we have to give you to say thank you for this presentation, because I think it's the first public event since you have been appointed a new CEO of Snam. So the question for you is what your experience at a company like like Enel and Terna could bring to a company like Snam?
Well, good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. Time is passing by, not in the same way. You look the same you were 10 years ago. The first time I arrived here as a CFO of Terna, I'm not exactly the same. Thank you for this invitation. It's a pleasure. It's the first opportunity that I have to have a public speech around the energy matter as CEO of Snam. I don't want to add much respect what has been said a few minutes ago by President Bessighini. We are in a really crucial moment of our history, and what is happening in the Middle East is remembering us that energy sector is still at the center of all the most relevant geopolitical forces. You know what is happening? The first facilities that were bombing are energy facilities. So even we talk and we spend a lot of time around green, around new technologies, the old technologies seem still at the heart of the system, and probably there is a reason for that. As Snam, we manage the largest midstream energy infrastructure in Europe. 80 years of history. We were part of the Eni history, and now we manage the largest transport, dispatching, storage, and also regasification of natural gas infrastructure. And regasification is becoming a key element of our portfolio, with 10 entry points, 5 traditional with ground interconnection, 2 pipes, with the rest of Europe, North Europe, the eastern part, the Balkans, and also the northern part of the Mediterranean area, plus 5 LNG terminals that are becoming key element of our portfolio. I just want to remember you that in May, 37% of the gas injection the Italian Greece came from our LNG regasification facilities. Regarding my previous experience, you know, I'm a poor accountant guy, and I think that, said by the president, there's not anymore time for PowerPoint, and between PowerPoint and Power Grids, we have some Excel spreadsheet that need to be managed carefully. Because sometimes I think that there is not a so deep understanding of the real figures behind what we call energy transition, which are the real difference between the different technologies and what this will bring to the system. We mentioned several times the case of Spain. That is a good example of what happens if you dream something that is not feasible from a technical point of view, and at a certain point in time, you are shocked by the reality. The fact that the system entirely managed through renewable could have some issues is not something new. I remember that this is something that we discussed together here, maybe 6-7 years ago. There are implications that cannot be hid. There are a lot of pros in green transition. There are a lot of pros in renewable. There are also some technical implications, as there are a lot of pros in traditional generation and also a lot of cons that need to be managed. How to manage this in the proper way is not easy. It's not a matter of PowerPoint. It's not a matter of communication. It's a matter of deep engineering. And I think that we have to make some advancement on this ground.
The current scenario on geopolitical terms is changing, and it's changing rapidly. We discussed that previously with President Bessighini. There is a new geopolitical scenario, different tariffs impacting Europe and the world. There is a situation that is unstable with Russia how do you see the risk-reward profile for the European energy system, and which are the implications for a company like Snam?
I'm not sure that this is something new. Now we have a world that is competing and clashing in different blocks to have access to resources, energy, raw material. This is something not new. The problem was that starting around the 90s, we believed that we were entering in a stable world dominated by peace, dominated by collaboration, dominated by finance, meaning that, and I was part of that business, all of us were struggling around make or buy options. And sometimes we decide to buy and not to make. And sometimes we decide to hide a deindustrialization process, asking someone else to produce for us. This became evident in 2020 with the pandemic. At a certain point in time in Italy, we were looking for masks, and we did not have. We were in the position to buy. We had a lot of money to buy masks, but we did not have masks. We were obliged to import them from China, but sometimes they were not available. The same happened with vaccine, the same happened with gas. So we are coming back in a world in which it's not important what you can pay. It is more important what you have, what you can produce on your own. And on the energy sector, we are not in a easy situation because most of the energy that we consume in the country is imported. You know that energy that we do produce on our territories is basically only renewable energy because we do have hydro, we have plenty of solar, plenty of wind. We import a lot of nuke from France, and we transform here in electricity a lot of gas imported that is not present in the country. So from an energetic point of view, we use more or less 70% of an energy produced abroad because the gas that you import and you transform in electricity is only a technical transformation, but basically is energy that is fully imported. This is something that we have not to forget. Well, I think that in this context, we should leverage on the strengths that as a country we do have. I think that my recent experience in venture capital was quite encouraging. I think that we do have outstanding innovation, outstanding research, outstanding product development. I met hundreds of young entrepreneurs with the courage to produce, to innovate. They need our support. We have a lot of money in the country. We have a lot of debts, but also we have a lot of money. We have huge pension fund. They could do something more. We have financial institutions. They invest historically abroad, sometimes in the US, sometimes in other countries. Now, with what is happening everywhere, we should think back if we do have the opportunity to invest in our own country. This is what we did in the first part of the previous century, in the second part of the previous century. I think that this is the time to do that. Coming back to energy, again, as said by President Bersaghini, innovation in energy sector is quite complicated. If you look at the way energy is produced, transported, stored, we are using technologies that are more or less perfectly known since, 50 years, even more. The cost associated to such technologies maybe are different, but the way and also the efficiency of such technologies are perfectly known. Innovation is complicated. And innovation will not arrive tomorrow. This is something that we have to take in consideration.
There is a perception in Europe that the energy crisis has been left behind, but there is always a black swan. how do you see the Italian system and the European design for the energy sector should evolve, and which are the lessons that should be learned from the recent energy crisis?
Well, what is happening is that after maybe 10, 20 years talking about energy transition, maybe now we have the perception that we are more in an environment in which we can talk about energy addition. It's true. The generation coming from renewable sources have exploded. But this is the same for other sources of energy. Gas consumption, oil consumption worldwide exploded, even in Italy, despite all the scenarios that we have produced in recent years. We see an increase of 2%, 24 on 23, and we have an increase of 6%, May 25 over May 24. This is the consequence of a reduction of hydro generation that, of course, cannot be controlled by anyone, and also the increasing needs from thermoelectrical generation. Which is the role of gas? We do transport something like 63, 64 billion cubic meters. If we move from volume to energy, we are talking around something between 650 and 700 terawatt hour of energy. Sorry, I'm an accountant guy, so I'm used to play with figures. 50% of these are dedicated to thermoelectrical generation that produce after the, let me see, efficiency parameters or something of the 150 terawatt hour produced by the thermal electricity fleet. That is more or less 50% of the consumption of the country. Could we reduce this amount? Yes, but with increasing complexity. Imagine the easy dream to replace 1 kilowatt hour of renewable, of thermal generation with 1 kilowatt hour of renewable, maybe it's showing its limits. This is something that Spain just demonstrated to us. What we call energy maybe is not exactly the same thing. We spend a lot of time discussing about neutrality, but I'm not sure that a kilowatt hour produced by a conventional power plant has the same quality of a kilowatt hour produced by renewable. There are pros and cons. There are some cons because you are forced to produce CO2, and we have to manage technologies, how to manage these CO2 emissions, and there are encouraging technologies as carbon capture that need to be developed and analyzed, but again, it's not a matter of tomorrow. On the other side, you have a lot of pros. You do not pollute anything, you do not consume anything, but you don't have inertia. You cannot regulate the system. I remember to all of us that in 2003, when we had a blackout in Italy, an apagon in Italy, we struggled for 30 minutes before the collapse. In Spain, it was a matter of seconds. This is the technical consequence. Perfectly no technical implication of a generation fleet too much unbalanced over renewable. So I think that there are implications about the technical sustainability of the system, and this should also push us in some, let me say, after 30 years of the same market model that we inherited from previous experience, Bersani Decree has been shaped in 1999 with some, let me say, ideas, with some pillars that are not updated anymore. We imagine an energy system at the time basically based on hydro and gas generation. Maybe it was not the cheapest way to produce electricity, but was a very well shaped system. Now we are in a different environment. No one expected to have so many renewable injections into the system, with the implication connected with this. Implication in terms of technical output, as already described, but also implication about price. Because you know that even if we don't have 100% of energy produced by gas, we have 100% of energy priced by gas. That at the very end is becoming an issue, especially after the crisis of 2020, 2024. All of us spent more or less 3 times what we spent a few years ago for our energy bills. This is something that needs a pragmatic approach. There is not an easy solution for that. Putting the hands in something that has been shaped so many years ago is not easy. But the message that I want to address is that we talk about nuke, we talk about carbon capture, sometimes we talk about hydrogen. This is something that will not arrive tomorrow. This is something that we have to manage. We need to pay our best people to manage this in our respective companies. But before to arrive there, we have to manage the system that we have today. And we will not able to change this in the short term. It's not an easy task. I'm not here to make advertising and to say to everyone that it's easy. But again, we are back to the principle. We need to have excellent financial solidity. We have to manage our balance sheet in a proper way, in a careful way. We have to take care of our debt. We have to continue to invest and keep the system resilient. We have to manage discussion with regulator to protect our asset. As Snam, we have to convince that the shift that has been performed by the company, and let me thank my predecessor, who is an excellent job regarding the diversification on LNG. Putting in place a different terminal in a very, very short time was an excellent job, but this is not something extraordinary. It is something that we have to live with in the coming years, okay? It will be a matter of years. So now we have to protect our infrastructure, and such infrastructure is essential for the energy system of the country.
I guess that we can agree that the perception of natural gas has shifted in Europe. It was once seen as incompatible with the effort for decarbonize our economy. And now it seems that the argument is changing towards the gas sector seen as an enabler of a transition. That is changing a little bit the narrative and probably changing the perspective through which different administration, governments, and even the European Commission should be looking to the role of natural gas and green gases as well. So from your point of view, how this debate suitable and could evolve, and the implication for the management of Snam as well?
First of all, we should ask to ourselves why the gas is important in the country via pipes and not via lines. This is the first question. There are a lot of engineers in the room. I think that you have the answer. That is an easy answer. This is the best way to move energy in long distance with a very, very limited cost. Again, let's come back to the figures. We transport 700 terawatt-hour of electricity. 50% is dedicated to thermoelectrical. 200 terawatt-hour are stored in our storage facilities. We are talking about 1/3 of the total. With all respect, with batteries, we are talking of a different size. And that's the reason why everyone is concerned about the curve of injection of gas in our storing facilities before the winter, because it's a key element for the security of the system and the affordability of the system. So moving from here, there are a lot of technology that need to be explored. If you move gas at a certain point of time, you have to burn it. If you burn it, you produce CO2. How you have to manage this CO2? There are plenty of ways. I think that carbon capture, sequestration technology is something that need to be analyzed and developed. The technology is there. We do have in Italy the technology that is up and running. We have agreement with Eni on this. We have already a facility that is working. There is some delay, and this is a pity, given that we have the technology. Other countries does not have the technology. In UK, there is an excellent regulation framework. We still not have it in Italy. I hope that the government will move on this path already before summer. It is important to have clear visibility because this could become an important investment track for our companies.
And as a final question after your recent appointment, I think that we cannot escape from the question of which are the key targets and priorities for you as new CEO of Snam for the next year to come, both in terms of geographical and then investment priorities.
Well, let me say, you know me a little bit. I think that we are not talking about my target. We are talking about the target of the company. The company just published a business plan a few months ago. I have nothing to say around this. I can only confirm what the team, that by the way is an excellent team. I have found excellent professionals, both in technical and financial matters. 12.4 billion of investment for the period 25-29. Most of them directed to gas infrastructure, but also with some relevant investment on new technologies. 6.4% RAB growth between 24 and 29, and also very, very sound balance sheet. This is something that I can confirm. You know me a little bit. I will put all my effort to keep the debt fully under control. I think that this will become a key enabler for the energy operators in the coming future, given the enormous part of investment that need to be realized to move toward the energy transition in a real and pragmatic way.
Fantastic. So many thanks to Agostino Scornajenchi, new CEO of Snam.